Thank you for watching this video. This is Math 4300 and this is Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming. We will now cover fundamentals of classes, constructors and operators, assignment operators. Classes provide us with the ability to create more complicated data structures. The simplest data structures are integers, real numbers, those are doubles, and strings. Those are the data structures we used most of the time so far. Now we want to use more customized and more complicated data structures. And the simplest one that we will start making today is a credit card account. We will assume that credit card account has two components, name of the customer and balance. And just to set down the language, balance is a real number and positive balance means customer owes money. Now you can see in the screen balance of $300.15 means that the customer owes $300.15. We want to be able to write the following code. In the main function, I want to be able to give the command ccaccount_cat. And by this command, I want to ask the computer, please give me sufficient memory to hold one credit card account and call it cat. However, before I can give this command to my computer, I have to create the class credit card account. This class does not come with C++, it has to be created. And I do that by going a little bit above main function and typing the declaration class credit card account, and the class declaration will be typed between these brackets, and please keep in mind it has to end with semicolon. This is the simplest example, so we will put the word public without going into explanation of what it means. So we will now create two attributes. Credit card account has CNAME, that is the customer name, and I have to put before the attribute, I have to put the type that the attribute has, and this is a string. So CNAME is called attribute. We have another attribute, it is balance. And now the command ccaccount_cat inside the main function has the following meaning. It means, dear computer, please give me enough RAM memory to hold one credit card account, and let me call it cat. So computer gives you enough memory for one credit card account, it's called cat, and if you zoom in with big enough microscope that can look into individual cells of RAM memory, you will see that this cat has two fields. One is CNAME and the other is balance. We can now access those fields by typing cat.cname, and I have decided the cat will be called Mr. Watson. After this command, the field cat is populated with the string Mr. Watson. I will give another command, cat.balance equals 2995, And after this command, the field balance contains the number 2995. I will just type return 0 in the end, and I will compile the code. C++, credit card account, output file will be called CCA, and we will use C++11 flag. So the code compiled. There is no point in running the code, but let's run it. Nothing happens because we are not typing anything on the screen. So this is the most basic class. It has two attributes, one of type string and one of type double. Now we will move forward and think of a program being written by several groups of programmers. Now we will assume that bank has one programmer who deals with main function. So we will assume that the bank has only two programmers. One programmer maintains the main function, and he or she makes a new interface and some beautiful app that accesses the bank account, allows the customer to see the balance and see some advertisements and videos how to use the credit card. But there is another programmer that is maintaining the class. So, and this programmer that maintains the class is actually unhappy that somebody can just modify the field balance. So the programmer that maintains the class would like to have complete control over the balance. So when the customer goes to the store and swipes the credit card, the programmer wants to have full control and update the balance. And this is achieved by putting this attribute balance in the private section. So now balance is going to be moved and erased from the public section of the class, and it is moved to the private section. The outcome of this is that only the programmer who is maintaining the class credit card account is allowed to access the balance. The programmer who is maintaining the main function cannot access the balance. And to illustrate our successful separation of attributes into public and private, we will now compile this newest version of the code, and we will see what happens. C++, credit card. Now we have received an error. Balance is a private member of credit card account, and we are not allowed to modify it in the main function. So now if I erase this line of code, now the program will compile, and now we have created a class and two attributes, one of which we are not allowed to access. So now we will create a function that can change the balance. So the function is created outside of the declaration of the class. This is called the declaration, and this is now implementation of the function. So we will implement the function change balance, and we will change the balance by, so our first version is just going to allow someone from main function to directly change the balance, but our next versions of the program will remove this feature. So the function will have one argument, x, and all the function does is balance equals x. However, I have to put one qualifier here to emphasize that this function is applied to credit card account. So this is called implementation. But before the function can be implemented, I have to declare the function in the public section of my class, and declaration is achieved by typing void change balance. I have to type the same name of the function, and I only type what kind of argument the function expects to have. I do not need to give the name of the argument here. The name of the argument is given only in the implementation. So this is called declaration of method. The functions are called methods. They are declared inside the class, but they are implemented outside of the class. So it ran into new words, so implementation. I cannot type the entire word. Maybe I can, if I do this. So I will now call the method get change balance 29.95, and now I have achieved that balance becomes 29.95. Now the program compiles, and I have created a function that is called method that modifies the balance. I can still not type the balance. Because if I now try to compile, I will get my good old friend error. Balance is a private member, so I cannot even read the balance. So I will now create a new method, double get balance, and I will now implement that method, double cc account, and this method is just returning the attribute balance. You may notice that when I'm implementing the methods of the class, I do not need to, I can only use the method balance. I can access that attribute. While if I'm outside of the class, I had to type cat.cname, unsuccessfully cat.balance, and now I can call the method getBalance, and now the program will compile, and not only it will compile, now I have something to show off. I can run this program. It types 29.95. So that's about the first 15 minutes. It actually took me forever to make these 15 minutes of a video. I'll make another one. This is the simplest one, just introduction to the class, and see you soon. Bye.